Hello, I'm Ray Schwetz, AVP of Community Outreach at Jovia Financial Credit Union, and we are a proud sponsor of the Book Fairies Readathon for 2020. At a time where many of us are apart, nothing brings people closer together than sharing a story. And that's why we've partnered with the Book Fairies, to share a story and to share the importance of getting books into the hands of children and level the playing field of financial literacy. We hope you enjoy spending time today with our reader, Renee Winters. She's a true Renaissance woman who's been a teacher and an administrator in Long Island schools for 25 years, and she's devoted to the strength of women and the empowerment of young girls. As someone married to a powerful woman for 25 years and a dad of 3 girls, I believe strongly in this. Jovia Financial Credit Union is proud to partner with the Book Fairies for their innovative readathon, and we're proud to introduce educator and Renaissance woman Renee Winters, author of Angie Wonders' Microscope Fun.
Yes, thank you so much, Ray. Thank you so much, Ray. Thank you so much, Jovia, for your support of the Book Fairies. Thank you so much, Book Fairies, for having me and asking me on today to celebrate reading, to celebrate Angie Wonders. I'm just so very excited to be here with you guys. So I'm ready to read a wonderful book with you, tell you a little bit about myself. And so whenever we're ready, we're going to get that book up and we're going to share a little bit. And through that process, I'm going to tell you about me. I'm going to tell you about Angie Wonders. And I hope you enjoy it. So welcome, everyone. Yay, let's go. So welcome to the Angie Wonders Microscope Fun book. Next. Turn. So a little bit about myself. Yes, I'm married to my high school sweetheart, and I'm the mother of 2 children. And as Ray mentioned before, I have been in education for 26 years as a teacher and administrator. I have worked on the varied levels. Currently, I'm working in the elementary level, and I'm loving every minute of it. The Angie Wonders book series was inspired by my daughter, Angelina. And it's about inspiring our girls into STEM. And I realized a long time ago that there was a dearth of women in the areas of STEM. So if you don't know what STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math. And in realizing this, I said, you know what? We have to inspire our girls at a young age. Get them questioning, get them thinking. And I really thought that coming up with Angie Wonders was a great way to do that. Because in that book, I get the little girls to think outside the box, to build that growth mindset, and to really start having them question the world around them. It's very, very important to do that. So that's me, Renee Winters. So let's turn to the page. And there's my main character, Angie Wonders. So as I said before, Angie was inspired by my daughter, Angelina. And Angelina is currently in high school. But when she was a little girl, and still, she's very curious, always thinking, always asking questions. And I thought that was such a great trait to have as a girl. And I thought that creating the Angie Wonders book series was a great way to keep that going. You always want our young girls to be thinking outside the box, questioning the world, and really looking at things they wouldn't normally think about. So astronomy, science, looking at the frogs, looking at those little ants, the stars, looking under a microscope, those are the cool things that we really want to build on, so that inspires them as they grow and as they get older. It's so very important to keep that going. So that's what we kind of do with my little Angie Wonders here. And that's, also I put her in a little dress because I wanted girls to recognize that it's okay to be feminine, wear a dress, but also like those really cool science things, those technology things, getting on a computer, learning about coding, engineering, math, like, oh yes, how cool is that? And you don't have to dress any particular way, but it's okay for you to wear a dress too if you wanted to do those cool things. So Angie Wonders, my character in the Angie Wonders book series. My second book right now, it's Microscope Fun, and my first book was What is the Sun? So I'm currently working on the third book, and I'm really going to hope you enjoy Microscope Fun as I read this to you and really get some questions. Okay, turn. Let's start the story. Yay! Let's start. Turn. Yeah, so that's the cover of the book. Angie Winters, she's there with a microscope. She has a little jar there, and she's ready to look and discover and learn more. And my tagline for the book series is really explore and be more. And that's really what I want all of our girls to do, to explore and be more. So turn. This is our title page, my title page to my book. And this is a normal title page, but let me tell you a little something. My illustrator is Reski Sutra, and he's from Indonesia. And I looked around a long time for an illustrator. And a lot of times that happens in the writing process, that you really do have to find someone that fits your vision as a writer. So for me, I went through about 3 or 4 illustrators before I got to this young man here that really, was in tune to my energy, in tune to my ideas, and really we met in the middle, and it was like, wow, this is my Angie Winters. This is what I envisioned all along. And I actually had sketched out what I saw Angie Winters as, looking like, and he just like nailed it right away. So again, there is a process when you're writing for all you inspiring writers out there. You kind of just jump in there, start that process. And if you feel like writing, and I know we have a lot of young children writing now, a lot of student writers, it's such a beautiful thing. You want to journal, you want to get your thoughts on paper. That's the way you do it, And when you get to this point where you're looking for someone to match your ideas, don't be discouraged. Don't be discouraged at all, because it's out there. That person that's going to meet your thought process is there. You just got to continue and believe in what you're going to do here. This is my passion. I always want to empower our girls, to move them forward, empower women, empower girls to do greater things, to just believe in themselves, believe in their dreams, and to kind of go for it. So again, finding my illustrator took a while, but guess what? It all came together. So turn. All right, that's basic paging, turn again. And here I have my dedication page. The book is dedicated to my family, my source of love and support. And it's so very true, because honestly, that whole process, a lot of times you have to step away from, all the other things that you're doing, because you really want to put your energy into that book. And your family is that source of support. My first book was actually dedicated to my daughter, of course, who inspired the book. But my family, my husband, my son, 'cause I do have a son too. They all were around me and just kind of cheering me on and making sure that I understood that they too believed in my process, and they too believed in coming up with this vision and putting it into action. So that's so important, and that's important that you always let them know that you love them as well. So let's turn that page and let's go. Okay, in every book that I write, I wanted to make sure that I reached out to parents. And in this particular book, I'm writing to the parents to let them know that they too are a part of this. That it's not just about giving your book to a child and saying read, but actually engaging with them as they go through this process. It's so very important that our girls, again, build that growth mindset, build that curiosity, build those questions. And parents are part of that. Parents are part of asking those comprehension questions, asking, at the end, there's actually an activity page. So kind of sitting down with your daughter and asking those questions about, what did you not understand? Or what would you like to look under, use under a microscope? Those are the things that you really want to do and be engaged in that process of learning. And I just want parents to always know that it is a partnership. And I know there's a lot of parents out there today with their children looking at this, and that's so beautiful and that's so important, you know, and also taking time for you to read, modeling that reading. All of that is so very important that we establish that partnership and with our children when they're young and they know how important it is. So that's why I always write this letter to my parents at the beginning of my books. So turn. Oh my goodness, we're gonna start reading. Yay! Okay, first page, let's go. Angie is so excited today, more thrilled than ever before. Her mommy has bought her something. She saw it at the store. She kept looking out the window, waiting for the mail to arrive. It was supposed to be delivered today on her porch by 5. So Angie sat on down and placed a pillow on the steps. She kept an eye on her watch. It wasn't 5 yet. As she passed the time, a beautiful butterfly fluttered at her nose. She even saw a brown ant moving near her toes. She laughed and giggled as she began to explore all the creepy moving bugs right outside her door. Just as she picked up a little curly bug, she felt her shirt being pulled. She felt a little tug. It was her daddy pointing down the street. She looked up, smiled, and jumped to her feet. So excited, so thrilled. It's here, it's here. Open the box, she yelled and cheered. Her microscope was beautiful as it sat there on the floor. It will help her answer questions, help her to explore. A microscope is an instrument that makes super small objects big. It zooms and magnifies even the tiniest of sprigs. Her mommy helped her read the directions to set it up just right. It now sat on the table under the kitchen light. What was her first object? What would it be? A cat's whisker, a feather, or maybe Dad's old key? Some salt, a string, or even that gray fuzzy thing. There were so many things to examine. She wanted them all. So she began to make a list of items as she walked down her hall. She found a shoebox and an old notebook too. She wanted to keep track of all the things she would use. After she gathered her items, her heart began to soar. She ran back to the kitchen, ready to explore. As she sat at the table, looking in her new tool, her first item was a leaf that she had found in school. She looked at the lines that she had not seen before. She couldn't believe her eyes. She wanted to see more. The leaf looked like one of Daddy's road maps, lots of lines everywhere. So many lines that she didn't know were there. She couldn't contain her excitement. She looked with disbelief. Her mommy explained that she had viewed the plant cells of the leaf. It was amazing what she saw as she looked in her new microscope, all the details that she could now see. A new world had been unlocked, and her microscope was the key. Knowing she could look closer at objects filled her with joy. It's a tool to look at my world, Mommy said. It's more than just a toy. As darkness began to fall outside the kitchen window, Angie rubbed her eyes. She examined so many items, and each offered its surprise. But she knew it was time for bed as she walked across her floor. She glanced back at her microscope as she closed her bedroom door. She jumped in her bed, feeling so free. Her microscope is fantastic. So many new things to see. She waited for her mommy to tuck her in just right. She closed her eyes just for a moment, but fell asleep in the moonlight. So that concludes the stories. Now, what I'm going to show you here is that I have like little activities at the end of the book too. So Angie's activities, turn the page. You have like 15 cool things you should look at under a microscope. So if you had a microscope as you're reading, after you read the book, a lot of times, many of my readers would look at these various things, and it's so cool to see these things under a microscope. It's so surprising what you actually see. So I gave you a list of some good stuff to look at. Turn. And then, of course, you have to keep notes. A great scientist always keeps notes. So you want to keep some really cool notes as you go through the process, taking notes of things that you find, maybe what's the first thing you're going to look at. What did you see in your observation of that particular item? That's where you'll put that. So there's several pages of notes. Next. And then, of course, the microscope slides. Draw what you see. What did you see under that? It's so cool. You know, when you see that onion slice or that celery, it's not going to look the same. But here you can actually draw what you see there. So a really cool opportunity to put down what you see under that slide. Turn. So this is my back cover of my book. It just kind of shows Angie at her best with a little butterfly on her nose because she likes all those cool things. And it's cool if you like them too. It's awesome. Again, my book is written to inspire girls to explore and be more. And I'm currently working on the third book in the series. I'm so excited. My book can be found at Book Review and Amazon. You can turn the page. Thank you. Are you ready to ask me a question? I'm so excited. So let's go for it. Let's share some ideas and thoughts together. Let's ask some questions. Let's see what some questions are coming up. Okay, my first question is, could you tell us more about Angie and what she is like as a person? And how did you come up with the idea to create her? Okay, so Angie was inspired by my daughter, Angelina. Angelina is now in high school, but throughout those years of her growing, always a curious young lady, always curious, always asking questions. And for me in my household, I always thought it was important not to stifle any of those questions. I thought it was always important to allow those questions to continue and to really give them the fuel that they needed and the confidence to say, you know what, I can continue asking questions about anything. So that's where the idea came from. And Angie, my character, is just like that. She knows that it's okay to ask questions. And she knows that sometimes, you know what, it's hard work. She will put in that effort to get her result. So if she has to ask a lot of questions of people around her, or maybe she has to get a book or go on the internet with the supervision of her parent, then she can do that. But she knows that it's very, very important to ask questions and to explore the world around her. She ultimately wants to become a scientist. So exploring things is part of what she does. So that's what my Angie was all about. Let's see what else. Do kids in your school read your books? Yes, actually they just started. Some of my teachers actually have them in the classroom library. And so yes, I do have some students in my school reading my books. So yes, that's very, very cool. And I don't know if they made the connection yet. that, the school administrator is also the person that wrote the book, but I guess they're going to make that connection, especially this year, for sure. Let's see, next question. How hard was it for you to get your first book published? Great question. I like that. Okay, so in terms of publishing, as an English teacher, I was originally an English teacher. I think one of the things I always wanted to do was to write. And many, many years ago, and I don't want to date myself here, but many years ago, you can only go through a publishing house. You had to actually create your manuscript, or that's your form, your formal writing, right? And send it to a publisher. And, that's a long process. And you really have to kind of cross your fingers and hope that those publishers would like your book, like your idea, and decide to publish it. But now there's a lot of independent publishing companies, or even places that you could go to actually publish a book on your own. So I'm an independent writer and independently published. I ended up publishing my book through Amazon. It's called the Amazon Kindle Publishing. And so I did it through that process. But there's so many other companies out there now, like Lulu. There's so many different ones out there that you can actually publish your book without going through that true formal process. So that's why I tell all of the people that I meet, especially children and students, like, if you have an idea that you want to share with the world, let's go for it. Tell your parents that I want to do this, and, kind of dig in, because those ideas are so important to share. Put them on paper, enjoy that process of writing. I always try to explain to my students when I was in the classroom, enjoy the process, like enjoy that journey, don't try to get to the end right away, just enjoy that journey. There's going to be a couple of times that you revise and you come back, you look at it again, but guess what? That end result will be cool. It'll be awesome, So if you have an idea, go for it. It's a lot easier to get your book published nowadays than it was a long time ago. Okay, let's see. Next question. Can you share how your books have inspired kids to learn more about STEM topics? Okay, great. Well, you know what? Prior to the pandemic, I was out a lot more at workshops, and I was going to a lot of events in person and really sharing and talking to a lot more children that way. But recently, of course, I'm doing it virtually. But a lot of my readers and their parents have commented to me that their children were truly inspired. Their girls were so inspired to really, to examine things more, to look at that microscope, to look at the sun, to look at the stars, to look at the bugs, and to really question the world around them. So yes, a lot of feedback that I have received from my readers is that they are enjoying the world more. And the parents are really appreciating that too, that it's kind of inspiring them to say, you know what, I have to expose my daughter to that too. I have to make sure that she understands that and that she finds some enjoyment in those areas that, maybe aren't as focused on as much for girls. But yes, definitely seeing a lot of inspiration and inspired children. And I'm definitely hearing that from my readers at this point. Next question. Let's see. What was it like to see your book in print for the first time? Oh my gosh, that's such a great question too. And you know what? I cried. To be honest, I cried because, you work so hard on a project to get it to that point, and to actually see it, and actually gets me a little, mushy now, actually, thinking about it, and really seeing, seeing the book was really cool, and actually having the hard, the copy of it in my hand when I received my author's copies, and so saying, wow, I did this, I created this. But the one thing that really touched my heart more than anything else was seeing it in the hands of a child. That blew my mind. It's just like, and people sent me pictures of their little girls and little boys, or any child holding that book and reading that book. Oh, amazing. Amazing. So that really sent me to the moon. That was all. I just thought I was crying. And everyone was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I explained to everyone, I was like, look, this child is holding my book. So, oh my goodness, that was a beautiful moment in my life. And that really, really had an effect on me. And I think that, like many of us, we want to make a difference. We want to affect others. And that's really why I went into education, right? From the beginning, touching lives, touching children's lives. And to see that my book is going further than me being in a classroom, me being in a building, a school building, but actually touching people in other, states around the world. It's just so beautiful. And so it definitely has been very meaningful for me, very meaningful. All right, so let's go to the next question. Let's see. Does your daughter help you write your books? And is she your hardest critic? Oh, that's awesome. Well, my daughter actually, all of my family, once I write the book, I read it to them, right? And if there's something that doesn't necessarily sound the way I want it to, or if the flow is not there, I kind of share it with them and I kind of give them some options as to what I was thinking about. And then they give me their feedback. But I always share it with my daughter, Angelina, first. I do read it to her. And I told her this next book is actually about math. So she's really excited about that. And she's actually the one that kind of put that seed in my mind. She's like, Mom, I love math. Can you just write a book about Angie and math? And I was like, oh, why not? That's so cool. Yes, of course I will. So yes, my daughter, Angelina, is a part of that process. And is she my hardest critic? I don't think so. I think I'm my hardest critic, actually. I'm somewhat of a perfectionist, so it's kind of hard when I read over my book, to make sure that everything is just right and it's going to have that effect on a child when they read it. So I definitely enjoy that. But no, she's not my hardest critic. I am. Let's see. My next question is, how long does it take for you to write a book? Okay, good question. Normally, my first book, it took me about maybe 3 days to write the rough copy, just to get the flow of the rough copy. But then, like any writer knows, you're going to come back to it, right? You're going to come back to that piece. I set it aside, right? And you want to create a revision, or I used to say revise, right? Revise it and revision that process. So I come back to the work and I read it over and I set it aside again. So I guess overall, maybe it took me about 2 to 3 weeks to really solidly know that this was great. This is what I wanted. But even then, I guess, once I put it out there, I would tweak a couple of things, so the flow would always be correct. So overall, I'll say a month to create the entire book itself, and to really be satisfied and happy with the energy that I got back from it. And and then I knew it was ready to, shop it to to share with my illustrator and take it from there. All right. So it's about a month. Let's see, next question. Okay, that's it. All right, yay.
We're all out of questions. Thank you so much. Renee, that was awesome.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I loved sharing.
Well, we love this story. We want to thank you for your work as an educator on Long Island for those years. And also, we want to thank you for the inspiring stories of Angie. So keep her stories coming.
Thank you. Yes, I sure will.
Jovia Financial Credit Union would also like to thank the Book Fairies for sharing this story and others through this amazing and innovative readathon, this virtual readathon. So thank you so much, Book Fairies. The work that they're doing is amazing. They have donated 2.3 million books since 2012 to children in need of books, and has really helped level the playing field for financial literacy. So great work. And if you want to learn more about the Book Fairies and their efforts, keep watching the Facebook page and also go to their calendar of events on their website. So thank you so much, and thank you for joining us today.